The mining colony of Nova 7 burned under alien fire. Commander Alex stood on the bridge of the colony's defense station, watching as strange ships tore through their shields. The attackers had come without warning. They called themselves the Swarm, and they consumed everything in their path. Send the distress signal to all channels. Alex ordered his communication officer, Tom. Every frequency, every language we know. Tom's fingers flew across the controls. The message went out across the galaxy, reaching every known civilization. It was simple and desperate. Nova 7 under attack. Thousands of civilians. Request immediate assistance. Anyone, please help. The responses came quickly, but they were not what Alex hoped for. The Galactic Council, the supposed peacekeepers of known space, sent their reply first. Your colony exists outside Council jurisdiction. We cannot interfere in border conflicts. May fortune favor you. The proud warrior race of Krell sent only 4 words. Not our problem. Humans. The technologically advanced Zelari responded with cold calculation. Risk assessment complete. Intervention probability, 0%. Resource allocation elsewhere required. One by one, every major power in the galaxy turned their backs. Alex felt his heart sink as each rejection arrived. The galaxy had made its position clear. Humanity stood alone. Sir, the swarm ships are breaking through Sector 4, Tom reported, his voice shaking. We have maybe an hour before total breach. Alex looked at the tactical display. 300,000 colonists, including families and children, waited in the underground shelters. They had nowhere to run. The colony's small defense fleet was already destroyed. All they had left were automated turrets and a prayer. Keep broadcasting, Alex said quietly. Someone might still answer, but deep in his heart, he knew the truth. The other races had always looked down on humanity. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, barely 200 years into space travel. They were considered primitive, emotional, and weak. Why would anyone risk their ships for a human colony? The Swarm's lead ship sent a transmission. The creature on the screen looked like a nightmare made real, all teeth and dark armor. Surrender now. Your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make you suffer. Alex cut the transmission without responding. He would not give them the satisfaction. If Nova 7 was going to die, they would die fighting. Commander, Tom suddenly shouted, his eyes wide at his console. I'm picking up something on long-range sensors. More swarm ships? Alex asked, already knowing their fate was sealed. No, sir. These signatures. They're human. It's the Earth Defense Fleet. The entire Third Fleet, sir. 200 ships and counting. Alex rushed to the sensor station, unable to believe what he was seeing. The readings were impossible. Earth was 3 weeks away at maximum speed. There was no way they could have received the distress signal and responded this quickly. How? Was all Alex could manage? Tom pulled up more data, his shock evident. Sir, according to these timestamps, the Third Fleet left Earth space 18 days ago. That's 5 days before we were even attacked. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Earth had somehow known. They had sent their fleet before the colony had even asked for help. Incoming transmission from the fleet, Tom announced. It's Admiral Kane. The screen flickered to life, showing a battle-hardened woman with gray hair and steel eyes. Behind her, the bridge of humanity's newest battleship hummed with activity. Nova 7. This is Admiral Kane commanding the Earth Defense Third Fleet. We are 15 minutes out. Tell your people to take cover. Things are about to get loud. Admiral, how did you know? Alex had to ask. Kane's expression softened slightly. We've been watching the swarm's movements for months, Commander. When they started heading toward the frontier, we knew they'd hit our colonies. Earth doesn't wait for our people to die before we act. We protect our own. But the fuel costs alone ... Sending an entire fleet this far ... Son, Kane interrupted. When humanity asks for help and the galaxy turns away, that's when we show them who we really are. Now clear your firing solutions. The cavalry has arrived. Admiral Kane stood at the center of her command bridge, watching the tactical display as her fleet dropped out of hyperspace. 200 human warships materialized around Nova 7, forming a protective wall between the colony and the swarm attackers. The sight would have been beautiful if not for the destruction below. All ships, combat formation Delta, Kane ordered through the fleet come. Cruisers formed the spear, destroyers on the flanks. Keep the carriers back with the medical ships. Her second-in-command, Captain Ross, studied the enemy positions. Admiral, we're outnumbered 3-1. The swarm has over 600 ships in system. Numbers don't win wars, Captain. Determination does. Kane turned to her weapons officer. Lieutenant Park, are the new plasma cannons ready? Yes, Admiral. All ships report weapons hot. The swarm ships had stopped their bombardment of the colony, turning to face this unexpected threat. Their lead ship sent a message to Kane's flagship. Human fleet, you arrive at your doom. We are the devourers of worlds. Your primitive ships cannot stop us. Kane didn't bother responding with words. Instead, she gave a simple order. Fire. Space lit up with human fury. The new plasma cannons, developed in secret for the past 5 years, tore through swarm shields like paper. The enemy had expected the same old human weapons they had faced before. They had not expected this. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from the Galactic Council, the communications officer reported. They're demanding to know how we arrived so quickly. Tell them to watch and learn, Kane replied. Her eyes never leaving the battle display. The swarm recovered from their initial shock and returned fire. Their weapons were powerful, and several human destroyers took heavy damage. But humanity's fleet fought with something the swarm didn't understand: unity of purpose. Medical ship Hope. This is Admiral Kane. Begin evacuation of damaged colony sectors immediately. Copy that, Admiral. Launching rescue shuttles now. Captain Ross watched as human fighters swarmed out from the carriers, each pilot knowing they might not return. The swarm is trying to flank us, Admiral. They're sending a force around the planet. Let them come. Commander Way, execute Operation Hammer. From behind Nova 7's largest moon, another 50 human ships appeared. They had been waiting, hidden, a trap within a response. The flanking swarm force found itself caught between 2 human battle groups. How? Ross asked in amazement. These ships? They must have left Earth weeks before the main fleet. Kane smiled grimly. We've been preparing for this day since we first encountered the swarm. We knew they would come for our colonies. So we pre-positioned rapid response forces throughout the frontier. Hidden, waiting. The battle raged for 3 hours. Human ships fought with desperate courage, buying time for the medical vessels to evacuate civilians. The colony's commander Alex watched from his damaged station as humanity did what the rest of the galaxy wouldn't: stand and fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Admiral Kane. A new voice crackled over the comm. It was Captain Yang from the destroyer Thunder. My ship is critically damaged. Requesting permission for final run. Kane closed her eyes briefly. She knew what Yang was asking. Permission granted, Captain. Make it count. The Thunder, engines failing and weapons depleted, turned toward the largest swarm battleship. Yang's crew didn't abandon ship. They stayed at their posts as their destroyer became a guided missile, ramming into the enemy command vessel. Both ships disappeared in a brilliant explosion. Mark their names, Kane said quietly. They will be remembered. The sacrifice wasn't in vain. The loss of their command ship threw the swarm into confusion. Human forces pressed the advantage, driving deeper into enemy lines. Admiral, I'm detecting something, Park announced. The remaining swarm ships are powering up their hyperdrives. They're retreating. A cheer went up across the fleet, but Kane silenced it with a raised hand. It's not over. They'll be back with more ships. But today, we've shown them that humanity doesn't abandon its own. On the colony below, Alex watched as the swarm fled. His communications board lit up with messages from across the galaxy. The same civilizations that had refused to help were now asking how humanity had responded so quickly, how their weapons had become so powerful. Sir, what should I tell them? Tom asked. Alex thought of Admiral Kane's words. Tell them that humans have a saying. No one fights alone. Tell them that while they debated and calculated, humanity acted. And tell them this is just the beginning. Asterisk. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, representatives from 50 different species watched the battle footage in stunned silence. The human fleet's swift response and devastating effectiveness had shattered their preconceptions about the young species. Ambassador Vera stood before them, humanity's sole representative in this assembly that had rejected their call for help. She was a small woman, but she stood tall as she faced the gathering. The council wishes to understand. The Zalari representative spoke first, his crystalline form shifting colors with curiosity. How did humanity know to send ships before the attack occurred? Vera smiled. We didn't know. We prepared. For the past 10 years, we've been building hidden supply stations and positioning rapid response fleets throughout our frontier. We call it the Guardian Protocol. Impossible, the Krell warrior lord growled. The cost would be astronomical. No species wastes resources protecting empty space. Empty to you, perhaps, Vera replied. But to us, every human life in those colonies matters. We don't measure worth by profit or strategic value. We measure it by the simple fact that they are human. A council chairman, an ancient being from the elder race called the Wise, leaned forward. This level of military buildup suggests aggression. Is humanity planning expansion? No, we're planning survival. Vera activated a holographic display. In the past 5 years, 17 human colonies have sent distress calls to this council. Each time, we were told they were beyond jurisdiction, not worth the resources, or simply ignored. We learned our lesson. If the galaxy won't protect humans, humans will protect themselves. Meanwhile, near Nova 7, Admiral Kane received an unexpected visitor. A Krell battle cruiser approached under a flag of truce. The warrior lord himself, Commander Drac, requested permission to board. Kane met him in the conference room, noting how the massive alien warrior had to duck through human-sized doorways. Drac's forearms were crossed in what Kane knew was a sign of respect among his people. Admiral Kane, Drac rumbled. I came to witness your victory personally. The swarm has never been driven off so decisively. We did what we had to do, Kane replied simply. You misunderstand. I am not here to congratulate. I am here to learn. Drac's 6 eyes focused on her. My people pride ourselves as warriors, yet we didn't respond. We calculated odds and deemed intervention pointless. You calculated nothing. You simply came. That's where you're wrong, Kane said, pouring herself coffee and offering some to her guest, who declined. We calculated everything. The cost in ships, lives, and resources. We knew exactly what we were risking. Then why? Kane looked out the viewport at Nova 7 below. Because the moment we start calculating whether people are worth saving, we stop being human. Those weren't numbers on our screens. They were families, children, dreams. You can't put a price on that. Drac was quiet for a long moment. The swarm will return. They always do, with greater numbers. We know. We're counting on it. The warrior's eyes widened. You want them to return? Admiral, Captain Ross interrupted over the comm. "You need to see this." On the main screen, hundreds of new contacts appeared on the edge of the system. For a moment, Kane thought the swarm had already returned. But these signatures were different. Ships from dozens of species, independent traders, mercenaries, even a few military vessels from smaller civilizations. "What are they doing here?" Ross asked. A message came through from the lead ship, a merchant vessel from the outer rings. "Human fleet, we monitored your battle. We've come to offer assistance with evacuation and repairs." No payment required. More messages flooded in. Species that had never shown interest in humanity were offering help. Not the great powers, not yet, but the smaller ones. The ones who knew what it felt like to be ignored. DRAK made a sound that might have been laughter. "You've started something, Admiral." The mighty Galactic Council refused to help, but you came anyway. Now the Forgotten Ones see that someone will stand up to threats. You've given them hope. "We didn't do it for politics," Kane said. "No, and that's exactly why it matters." Drax stood to leave, then paused. "The next time humanity calls for aid, the Krell will answer. This I swear on my honor." After he left, Kane turned to Ross. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them Phase 1 of the Guardian Protocol is complete. The galaxy is watching. It's time for Phase 2. "What's Phase 2, Admiral?" Kane smiled. "We show them that humanity doesn't just protect its own. We protect anyone who needs it." Asterisk. 3 months had passed since the battle at Nova 7. The colony had been rebuilt stronger than before, with defensive platforms donated by the coalition of smaller species that had rallied to humanity's cause. But Admiral Kane knew the real test was coming. Deep space sensors had detected it first. A swarm fleet larger than anything previously recorded. Over 2,000 ships moving steadily toward human space. This wasn't a raid. It was an invasion. In the emergency session of the Galactic Council, pandemonium reigned. The swarm had never assembled such a force. Even the mighty Zelari were concerned, as the fleet's trajectory would take it through several of their outer systems after destroying human space. "The humans brought this upon us all," the Zelari representative accused, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "Their defiance has provoked the swarm into total war." Ambassador Vera stood calm amidst the chaos. The swarm would have come regardless. The only difference is that now they face resistance instead of easy prey. "What resistance?" the council chairman asked. "Even your expanded fleet cannot stand against such numbers. Humanity will fall, and the swarm will be emboldened to attack others." "Then help us," Vera said simply. "For once, stand together instead of apart." The council erupted in debate, but Vera had already left. She knew their answer. They would debate until it was too late, as always. On Earth, Fleet Command had enacted Emergency Protocol 7. Every human ship capable of combat was recalled. Manufacturing plants worked around the clock. But everyone knew the math. They had maybe 500 ships against 2,000. President Marcus stood before the United Earth government. "We face our darkest hour. The galaxy watches to see if humanity will run or stand. I say we stand. If we fall together. If we triumph as one." The response was unanimous. Humanity would fight, but unknown to the swarm, the council, or even most humans, Admiral Kane had been busy. The Guardian Protocol had a secret third phase, one she had hoped never to use. In hidden shipyards around human space, a different kind of fleet had been building. Not warships, but something else. Ships designed with a single purpose, using technology reverse engineered from captured swarm vessels and combined with human innovation. Captain Ross looked at the specifications in disbelief. "Admiral, these ships, they're not meant to return, are they?" "They're meant to win," Kane replied. "Sometimes, Ross, Victory requires sacrifices that calculators can't measure. The day came too soon. The swarm fleet entered the outer system, a dark cloud blotting out stars. Their message was broadcast across all frequencies. Humanity will burn as an example to all who resist. The human fleet met them at the edge of the solar system, 500 ships forming a defensive line. Kane commanded from the flagship Defiance, watching as the impossible odds grew closer. All ships, this is Admiral Kane. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity means. We are not the strongest, not the smartest, not the most advanced. But we are the ones who show up. We are the ones who stand when standing seems impossible. Today, we make history. The battle began with terrifying intensity. Human ships fought with desperate courage, but they were pushed back meter by meter. Losses mounted. The destroyer Hope exploded under concentrated fire. The cruiser Victory lost half its deck. Then, from behind Jupiter, they came. 100 small ships, each with a crew of volunteers who knew they wouldn't turn. A ghost fleet? Kane had called them. Ships equipped with experimental quantum bombs, weapons that could only be activated manually from inside the ship. Ghost fleet. This is Admiral Kane. May history remember your names. Captain Young commanded the lead ghost ship. She had volunteered first when the call went out. Admiral, it's been an honor. Ghost Fleet, follow my lead. For Earth, for humanity. For everyone who said we couldn't, the Ghost Fleet dove into the heart of the swarm armada. The enemy, focused on the main battle, didn't notice them until too late. One by one, the ghost ships detonated their quantum bombs, each explosion taking dozens of swarm vessels with them. The tide turned in minutes. The swarm fleet, reduced by half and in complete disarray, tried to retreat. But something unexpected happened. Krell warships dropped out of hyperspace, blocking the swarm's escape route. Commander Drax's voice boomed across all channels. The Krell keep their promises. Today, we fight with humanity. Then came the Zalari, their advanced ships shimmering into existence. Then smaller species, those who had helped at Nova 7. Even some Council military vessels appeared, their commanders acting without official orders. The swarm found itself surrounded, not by one species, but by dozens. The galaxy had finally answered humanity's call. Asterisk. The battle was over within hours. The combined fleet had crushed the swarm invasion force completely. For the first time in recorded history, the swarm sent a message of surrender, agreeing to never enter this sector of space again, not in the aftermath. As rescue ships collected survivors and the Allied fleet regrouped, something unprecedented happened. The various species commanders requested permission to board the human flagship. Admiral Kane found herself hosting representatives from 30 different civilizations in her war room. Commander, Drax spoke first. Admiral Kane, we came here to fight. But we stayed to learn. Your ghost fleet. No Krell warrior has ever seen such sacrifice. The Zalari commander, his form shifting to deeper blues, added, Our calculations could never have predicted this outcome. We measured probability of success at less than 1%. Yet you proceeded anyway. Because some things are worth more than probability, Kane replied. Those volunteers knew what they were doing. They chose to save billions by giving their own lives. That's not calculation. That's humanity. A young commander from one of the smaller species raised a tentacle. But why? Your own survival was not guaranteed. Why risk everything for colonies that could have been evacuated? Captain Ross answered this time. Because running teaches the universe that humans can be pushed around. Standing teaches them we can't. Every one of those volunteers made the universe a little safer for everyone. Back on Earth, President Marcus addressed not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The broadcast reached every inhabited world, translated into every known language. Today, we stood together. Not as humans, not as Krell, not as Zalari, but as inhabitants of this galaxy. The Swarm thought they could divide and conquer us. They were wrong. When we stand together, nothing can defeat us. At the Galactic Council, changes were already beginning. The Charter was being rewritten. No longer would distress calls be ignored based on jurisdiction or calculation. The Guardian Protocol that humanity had created was being adopted Galaxy-Y. Ambassador. Vera stood once more before the Assembly, but this time she wasn't alone. Representatives from the Coalition stood with her. The Council asks humanity to lead this new alliance, the chairman announced. Your species has shown wisdom beyond your years in space. Vera shook her head. We don't want to lead. We want to participate as equals. The galaxy is strongest when every voice matters, when every life counts. On Nova 7, Commander Alex watched the reconstruction efforts. Ships from dozens of species worked side by side, rebuilding not just the colony but something greater. His communication officer, Tom, approached with a report. Commander, we're receiving thanks from colonies across the frontier. Human and non-human. They're calling what happened here the turning point. Alex nodded, looking up at the stars. Maybe it was. For the first time, the galaxy didn't wait for someone else to act. They saw humanity stand and decided to stand with us. A year later, Admiral Kane stood at the dedication of a memorial on Earth. The names of every Ghost Fleet volunteer were etched in crystal, along with words in every language of the allied species. But it was the simple human inscription that drew visitors from across the galaxy. They stood when standing seemed impossible. They fought when victory seemed improbable. They died so others could live. This is humanity. Commander Drack attended the ceremony, now serving as military liaison between the Krell and humanity. Admiral, my people have a saying, warriors are born in battle, but legends are born in sacrifice. Your Ghost Fleet has become legend among all warrior cultures. Kane touched the memorial, thinking of Captain Young and all the others. They didn't do it to become legends. They did it because it was right. And that, said the Zalari ambassador, who had also come to pay respects, is what the galaxy never understood about humanity. You don't fight for glory or calculation. You fight for each other. As the sun set over the memorial, ships from the Allied Defense Fleet passed overhead, a mixed formation of human, Krell, Zalari, and dozens of other species flying in perfect formation. It was a sight that would have been impossible just years before in the council chambers. A new motto had been inscribed, proposed by humanity but embraced by all. No one stands alone. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their courage. It was their simple refusal to abandon anyone in need. And in learning that lesson, the galaxy itself had become stronger. The Swarm never returned. Some said it was fear of the Allied fleet. Others believed they had found easier prey elsewhere. But Admiral Kane knew the truth. They had seen what happened when the galaxy stood together, and they wanted no part of that unity. Humanity had answered a call that wasn't made, and in doing so, they had taught the galaxy to answer as well. Asterisk,